Hey guys and gals, how we doing? It's me, Joe Salyers, back here for the Music Factory Studios. So I've got another iPad plugin I want you to check out. Actually, two. And they're from our good friends at Nembrini Audio. Now, they don't sponsor anything or anything of that nature. They don't, give me free plugins or anything. I pay for this with my own money. And I wanted to check this out because there's not a lot of AUV3 plugins for iPad for guitar. Now, there's a lot of inter-app audio stuff and then the built-in kind of amps in things like GarageBand. But as far as an AUV3 or an audio unit guitar amp, there really only has been the Clevgron plugin that is okay if you want a clean tone, but if you want anything that's distorted or a little hotter, you're just kind of out of luck. Well, that's all about to change now with this big bad boy right here. This is the Nembrini Audio MRH810. I think it's basically a JCM 800 with two channels. And all I'm using here is I'm using a gate off this channel strip because I can't play through amp sims without compression. Just because I end up with a lot of issues of the amp not feeling right. And, there's a certain part of DSP code that keeps it from being exactly perfect. And there's a lot of factors. I understand the compiler, what compiler you're using, what's coding language you're using, things of that nature, things you use to port it with, and all of that. But I just find that without a compressor, especially in front of these more tube style amplifiers, you really lose that specialness that tube amps have. That feeling of when you play, when you're playing on the guitar, that you're not having to work as hard as you do on, say, something like a solid state amplifier. There's this thing of natural compression that happens that DSP just it gets close, but if you add a compressor, it's dead on. So basically, I'm just using the gate and a little bit of compression. I'll go ahead and so it's nothing out of the ordinary here. Terrible playing. Sorry about that. Okay, now I understand we're in like the middle of the world's largest lockdown, so it's not like I can go get guitar strings or anything. So these are kind of beat to death anyway, and they've been on here about a month, and I usually kill a set of guitar strings in about a week. So that's part of the issue. But this is the amp. It's the MRH810 lead series amp. It comes with a buku of, and that's a real number analogy. Buku is real. Buku of, it comes with a lot of hours. So you get a total of, let's see here, 43. I mean, think about that. 43. That's perfect. Now, I've picked the one that I personally like, number 5, but there is everything from tweeds. Those tweeds, when they're in these hours, a lot of times they make me think of just the way the Aussie records sounded with Randy Rhoads. They just have that. They have that kind of sound to them to me. There's also, you know, that's supposed to be like a Bogner. I mean, they sound good. The amp sounds really good. It has a built-in noise gate, but if you're going to put any pedals before that, don't use the noise gate here because that's going to be an issue. Use the noise gate absolutely first in your chain, okay? There's just a plethora of hours to use. This thing sounds good. It sounds good both on the clean channel. Now, here's something that happened to me. We went and played a festival a while back, and I had one of those iRig Blue boards, the little wireless controller, and I was using it live with Amplitude. So we'd load up, get through with the show. Show goes great, the whole 9 yards. And then I get home, and we're going to take, a few weeks off. And I'm like, well, where's my Blue board? I'll get it out and test all this MIDI stuff with it. I can't find it, daggone it. So I've ordered one, but who knows when I'll see another one. I actually went ahead and ordered the, what was the name of that one? It's not the iRig Blue board again. But I've ordered what is that thing? I just went blank. Don't you hate when that happens? They make keyboards. It's a cool little company, but they make this really awesome MIDI controller that has a lot more options on it, and it'll really come in handy. I'm going to order another Blue board just to have it as a really nice backup, because that thing's easy to connect, works great. But I just wonder if there's MIDI connectivity to this at all. And I don't think there is, but by using something like AUM here, there may be a way. I've never had to do that. I've just used Amplitude Live because it just works really well. But I'd like to see if that's possible. Now, the other plugin I have here, well, if I leave my amp on, is the Nembrini Audio in a Delay. Now, the other day we checked out the Nembrini Audio free plugins, and there was a delay in there, and that thing sounded really, really good. This is not just a delay. It has saturation. It has modulation. You can get kind of off the wall with the modulation. Has a filter. But one really important thing it has is this ducking effect. which is really handy, especially if you're playing live and you just want to leave the delay on for a song. You can turn it on. You can set it far back enough to where only when you let off the strings will you hear the delay. Off. Off. And that is another good reason to use a compressor, because you're human, and no matter how good you think your hands are or how good you think you are at dynamics, you're still human and you don't do as well as you think you do. So compression evens that all out. That way you get a more even distribution of something like this ducking delay. That way it works properly and you always will get the same reaction. Now, if you don't use a compressor, you're not going to get the same reaction, and you're going to say, well, this thing is just junk. Well, it's not. It's the player more than likely. A lot of guitar players aren't going to like to hear that either, but it's the truth. I mean, once you've spent 30 years on the road trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, instead of trying to just play and drink beer and chase girls, you learn these types of things. And that's not to say I'm better than anybody. It's just I didn't have time for all that other stuff. I wanted my guitar rig to sound really, really good. And I know I'm not that great of a player, but I am pretty good at setting up a decent rig. Now, this is not the rig I would personally use, but I like this amp a lot, and it's great for recording purposes. And I haven't properly set this thing for the purpose of ducking delay, but it's there, and that gives you some really good options. You also have a pattern bass here. Modulation, I'll turn it off. Turn the saturation down. Now you can have the offset into it has two modes, modern. Let's turn up the delay just a little bit here. And vintage. Now the vintage could use the high pass to its advantage here. The modern's just super clean. Compared to vintage. Then you've got the normal offset here. Let's go back to the delay. We'll put the pattern at off. So back to modern. Super clean. And vintage has that bucket brigade kind of thing going on. They've got this thing called smear. And grit. Let's try that in vintage mode. So we'll do modern grit, vintage grit. Okay. No grit. We'll do no smear. Modern smear. Vintage smear. Half and half. Modern. Now the delay's overhyped just so you'll be able to hear it. Got a high pass. Over here and pull our mix down a little bit. I mean, it sounds good. So the amp was $9.99, and I can't say enough good things about it. I'm really happy to have these tools available for iPad, especially as an AUV3, and a lot of options. There's also a Soldano style amplifier from Nembrini. There's a free one called Crunk, I think is what it's called. Let's see here what it's called. It is the Nembrini Crunk 2. Now that amp sounds good as well. There's also the PSA 1000 Junior, which is basically a distortion pedal. So you could use it basically as a distortion pedal for this. It's basically the same thing as a Sans amp style distortion without the cab simulator. The interesting part is it has a wet dry. The PSA 1000 Junior is free, by the way. The delay was $4.99. The Nembrini 810 MRH810 was $9.99, and the delay was $4.99. And the rest of the Nembrini stuff, the Crunk 2, the PSA Junior, and a bunch of their effects are completely free. So head over to Nembrini Audio on the App Store. Check them out. Grab those. Most of them cost you nothing. Pick up the Marshall amp while you're there, basically, from Nembrini Audio. This 810, it's amazing. If nothing else, you get a really good amp that you can do some really good recording with, as well as a lot of different IRs, so you can do a lot of panning guitars and mix those in and not have to go to desktop. After you've got some iPad recording done, I'll go to the desktop or my Mac and fix the guitars. You don't have to do that now. Nembrini Audio gives you that option, and that's great. All right, guys and gals, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That would really be appreciated. I don't personally run ads on my channel. Now, if YouTube does it, I apologize. I don't want them to, but they do anyway sometimes. But if you enjoy this content, especially the long form content, commercial free, or I'm not personally putting commercials on here, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe and hit the little bell for notifications. If you want to see more from the Music Factory, we check out iPad plugins, desktop plugins, Mac, PC. We also do Linux distributions because that's pretty cool, and it's a good way to learn your way around your main tool in your studio, which is either your computer or tablet. So the more you know about the operating systems and the electronics that you have, the better you can use them for recording, playing live, and other purposes. All right, guys and gals, we'll see you next time. Have a great day, y'all.